Now at 9, police in Knoll, Missouri are searching for a suspect who they say shot a dog with an arrow. Plus, several students in Joplin are heading to a state competition showing off their technical skills. And
President Biden is urging Democrats to talk about their record while his Republican rivals are ramping up their campaign messages. I'm Mather Rivera in Washington with more on this shadow 2024 campaign coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Some around the 4 states have seen some precipitation, and we head straight to weather with meteorologist Sam Lane. Sam?
Thank you very much, Jalen. Yeah, lots of folks are receiving rain, and some of it very heavy rain, especially down towards the south. You can see on the motion, most of the heaviest rain has been just to our south in Delaware County, Benton County, and McDonald counties. And if you look a little bit further south, you can see tornado watches and warnings down in Texas and southeastern Oklahoma. We're going to be dealing with the rain overnight, and as temperatures drop through the 40s, it's a cold, raw rain at that. Generally around 37 by morning with the rain. And looking down the lane, we could see a little bit of mixture in the morning, but it looks like a pretty nice weekend shaping up across the area with sunny skies and warmer temperatures. And I'll tell you all about that in our forecast in just a little while.
Pittsburgh High School is mourning the death of a student today in a Cherokee County crash. The 2-car crash claimed the life of 18-year-old Josiah Fletcher of Pittsburgh around 8 this morning. According to the Kansas State Highway Patrol, Fletcher was going east on K-171 near Northeast 90th Street, made a U-turn and was hit by a semi. Fletcher died at the scene. Pittsburgh High School principal Colin Harrod sent a message to families of the students this morning informing them of the crash and said additional counselors and student support staff are available for students. Police in Knoll, Missouri believe they've identified a man who shot a dog with an arrow, and now they're trying to find him. That man was Jeffrey Howard. Police say they received tips that led them to the suspect. The Knoll Marshal's office has a warrant for his arrest for the charge of animal abuse. The dog was found on February 23rd. A local rescue group brought the dog and her puppies to a veteran. The arrow was removed and the dog is now recovering. A state competition for Joplin High School Franklin Technology Center student is coming up. They'll be showing off their skills in trade, technical, and other service occupations. KOAM's John Hadala met one female competitor breaking into a usually male-dominated field.
Job fairs and competitions. 2 things educators hope will get students ready for work after graduation. One upcoming event for Franklin Tech students is the Skills USA State Competition.
We have been trying to get more student interest in this in the past few years, and so we're all very excited that they are wanting to take part in it and be involved and step out of their comfort zone.
One competitor is Hope Oakley. She fell in love with welding in 8th grade. Now she's making her way to that dream job after high school graduation.
You graduate with a certification or with experience or with knowledge that you need to know in order to get a job.
Oakley was one of the 2 women competing at district. Wishing there were more girls trying it, she says it's empowering to represent women in the industry.
It's a lot of lifting, but I do think there should be more women welders because welding requires attention to detail.
Advisor Anderson says local businesses have shown interest in trade students with skills and drive.
It's a huge need right now, especially there's the skills gap. We have so many different jobs that are open and not enough people to fill those. So that's what we're trying to do at Franklin Tech is get those students prepared. If they go on to a college program, that's great, but they're also prepared to go straight into the industry or do a little bit further training so that they can go straight into their job.
Sitting there and you're just like in your zone and you're just watching that puddle like smooth over, it's really just, and then at the end of the day, being able to see what you finished rather than just knowing what you finished, it's a satisfying feeling.
In Joplin, Janna Hautala, KOAM News.
33 students from the Technology Center will attend the Skills USA State Leadership and Skilled Conference. It's in Lynn, Missouri at the end of March. The Bourbon County, Kansas Arts Council is presenting its 31st annual Fine Arts exhibit. It opened today at the Danny and Willa Ellis Family Fine Arts Center and runs until the 11th. More than 20 local artists entered their art for the exhibit. Other artists participating come from Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. This year's theme is doors and windows. Art ranges from ceramics, glasswork, photography, and sculptures.
In our small community, just happy that we can have exposure to the arts here in this small town. And we're not that far from Kansas City and Joplin, but it's nice to be able to have something and to be able to present to the community artwork that is really great.
Admission to the exhibit is free of charge. It's open on weekdays from noon to 7 p.m. and on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Some grade school students in Carthage, Missouri took a flight to Japan this morning. They never actually left the ground or went to an actual airport, but they simulated that experience. The Fairview Elementary students did everything from going through security, checking in their luggage, and finding their seats to enjoying some in-flight snacks. It's all a part of a lesson on Japan and its culture.
I like seeing people doing the chopsticks. It was kind of interesting because it was interesting because how they moved it without it crossing.
As a part of their lesson on Japan, the students also learned how to use chopsticks. President Biden appears to be shoring up support for a potential 2024 presidential run with a visit to Capitol Hill to talk strategy with other Democratic senators. His rivals on the GOP side are also ramping up and road testing their messages, all sure signs a shadow 2024 campaign is on the way. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera reports from Washington.
Mr. President, come talk to me.
Although President Biden has yet to announce whether he'll launch a second bid for the White House,
When will you announce your re-election, sir?
When I announce it.
his visit to Capitol Hill Thursday suggests he's already mulling a 2024 strategy and touting his record so far.
We talked about implementing the great accomplishments of the president the last 2 years. We are filled with unity, optimism about 2024.
The president is trying to unite Senate Democrats, but at least one member won't say whether he'd back the president in a 2024 run.
I'm not going to say I'm going to support or not support somebody. I want to see and find the best pathway for America.
Republicans are also road testing ideas and listening to voters.
I'm actually getting positive feedback that Americans are ready for an optimistic, positive, yet conservative message about where we're going as a nation.
Right outside of the nation's capital, Republicans are gathering for the CPAC Conservative Conference. Former President Trump and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley are slated to speak. However, other GOP heavyweights like former Vice President Mike Pence and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis are skipping the event, revealing a potential rift in the party.
The thing that the next Republican nominee needs to know is he has to unite these groups to get elected, or if he doesn't, he's going to lose.
Former President Trump is set to give his speech at the CPAC conference on Saturday. He was the crowd favorite last year, winning a straw poll with 69% of the vote. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Coming up, how the federal government is responding to a sharp rise in cases of syphilis among babies. The CDC reports an alarming spike in cases of syphilis in babies. That's because their mother, who was unaware they have syphilis, are passing it on to their children during pregnancy. As Elizabeth Cohen reports, that exposes babies to dangerous health conditions and in some cases, an early death.
Yes, we're losing a lot of men to venereal disease, Colonel. Thank you. You can see for yourself.
World War II government health campaigns like these warned U.S. soldiers about the dangers of syphilis. It took decades, but eventually there was success. This 1999 report showing syphilis cases dramatically reduced, with cases plummeting to record lows. But now, syphilis rates are back up again. Preliminary CDC data showing a 68% increase in cases from 2017 to 2021. Venus Johnson is one of the youngest victims. Her mother passed syphilis on to her during pregnancy.
I thought my grandchild was going to die before she even had a chance to live.
Danae Johnson, Venus's grandmother, says Venus's mother felt sick when she was about 5 months pregnant.
I took her to the hospital and they just sent her away.
She says the syphilis was caught and treated just 2 weeks before delivery.
Good girl.
But by that time, Venus's lungs had already been permanently damaged. Now she gets sick often, had RSV last fall, and was on a ventilator and in the hospital for a month. Other children born with syphilis have suffered liver problems or even become deaf or blind. Congenital syphilis rates have increased about 700% in the past 10 years. In 2021, more than 2,600 babies born with the infection, more than 200 of them died. Part of the problem? Success decades ago at getting syphilis rates down.
Syphilis and congenital syphilis are things that many doctors have not seen in their careers. And so it's so important for people and for providers to be aware of the fact that syphilis has returned.
Venus's illness, other babies' deaths, could have been prevented with one of the oldest and cheapest of drugs, penicillin.
And it's something that we really should be able to eliminate in this country because we have the ability to screen and properly treat everyone.
So now a fight from 80 years ago.
If we could have discovered the condition of the mothers before the 5th month of pregnancy, we could have treated them, and the children would have been born perfectly healthy.
That fight is back again. A disease that was once on its way to being eliminated in the U.S. has returned.
Preterm births during early pandemic lockdowns were lower than expected in a handful of wealthy countries. That's according to a study out this week in the journal Nature. Researchers looked at more than 50 million births in 26 countries between January 2015 and July of 2020. They compared data from spring of 2020 to predictions for that time period. Their analysis showed preterm births during the early lockdown months of the pandemic were more than 20% less than predicted in Australia, Israel, and a handful of other European countries. Sam is back with a complete look at the forecast, and later in sports, we'll hear from the Missouri Southern women as they prepare for rival Pitt State in the MIAA tournament.
Well, we've had quite a bit of weather today with lots of clouds, rainfall, even some hail up to $half size down in Miami earlier. Even here at the station, we had some hail that covered the ground for a little bit. Right now, you can see in Indigo Sky Casino and Resort down in Seneca, Missouri, the pavement is wet and raining down there as well. And this afternoon, we only made it up to 53 degrees after starting out at 38. The averagers are 55 and 33, so we were pretty close to that today. And of course, we've had quite a bit of rainfall across the region, and it's still raining here in Joplin, all the way down into Oklahoma. Heaviest rain now in southern Berry County, but there's another area of rain that's moving up from the south, and you can see it here on the radar, just south and east of Tulsa. That's all advancing to the north and east, so we have several hours of rain to go. You can even see some severe weather down in southeastern Oklahoma and just between Fort Smith and Little Rock in Arkansas. Fortunately, the severe weather is going to stay down to the south. This is going to help with the drought situation as we still have exceptional drought in Chautauqua and Elk counties and dry for southeastern Kansas, but we're going to put a pretty big dent in that drought as we head over the next day or so. Temperatures right now are quite chilly. With the rain falling, temperatures in the 40s, it feels pretty raw out there. 49 in Jay, 43 in Yates Center, 41 in Fort Scott and Nevada, so quite chilly out there indeed. Feels like when you factor in the wind in the 30s, 36 in Pittsburgh, 35 in Fort Scott, a little bit warmer down to the south in Grove and Jay, where it currently feels like 43 degrees. The dew points are up too, generally in the 40s, close to 50 down to the south. Still dry though at Yates Center at 37 degrees. Right now in Joplin, with the rain coming down, it's 43 degrees. It feels like 38. Dew point is 41. And the east-northeast wind at 9 miles per hour. In Pittsburgh, we're looking at the flag flying at us from the east, 41 degrees. It feels like 37, and the humidity is pretty close to saturation. Well, it is saturated. 41 and over 41 is 100% on the humidity. Rainfall is expected to be heaviest down to the south, as well as the severe weather stretching from the Metroplex over into south central Arkansas. Many tornadoes down there earlier this evening. Marginal risk of severe weather in our area, but the main threat is going to be the heavy rainfall. Also a moderate risk of some hail, but the tornado threat and the high wind threat with this situation is on the low side. Precipitation chances are going to be basically 100% tonight. Then they're going to start dropping off as we go through the day tomorrow. Maybe in the morning we'll see some of that rain mixing over with or changing to some snow. As we go through the overnight hours, you can see that rain advancing in from the south and west. And here's that mixture with temperatures in the 30s. And then as the afternoon grows on, the rain will start to move away and we'll see temperatures rebounding into the 40s and lower 50s with northerly winds. Then as we go through Saturday morning, we're going to see temperatures in the 30s with a south wind, and then Saturday afternoon looks pretty nice with temperatures in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees. And then Saturday night into Sunday, we'll see lows generally in the 30s and 40s with southeasterly winds. Rainfall amounts on top of what we've already received, around an inch or so down to the south, lighter amounts to the north and west. And take a look at the next 7 days. Pretty nice weekend shaping up. Once we get past tomorrow, then we'll have some more rain come in early next week. And then next week looks like it's going to be chilly and below normal, with temperatures only in the 40s for highs and lows in the 20s. So winter is not giving up just yet.
Yeah, not at all. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about it in the second half hour. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Sam. Coming up, a potential ban on a popular app.
Congress is moving closer to making it easier for the administration to ban a popular social media app. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with more on which app and why.
There is renewed focus and concern over the social media app many parents are familiar with, TikTok. Congress is now hoping to wipe it from phones sooner rather than later. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is in Washington to explain.
Time may be running out for TikTok.
We have concerns about the app, and that's why we have called on Congress to act.
The Chinese-owned social media app used by more than 100 million Americans, now the subject of a bill in the House to give President Biden the ability to ban it. The House Foreign Affairs Committee voted along party lines to send the Deterring America's Technological Adversaries, or DATA Act, to the full House.
Now, this is not about the Chinese people. This is about the Communist Chinese Party, about the data collection they're doing on Americans, not to mention Chinese, that it should not be on a government phone.
The app has been under intense scrutiny for its potential to share user information with the Chinese government and its mental health impacts on young Americans. Wednesday, TikTok did roll out new default time limits for users under 18, allowing 60 minutes of screen time per day before being prompted to get offline. However, it does not stop them from continuing to watch.
It gives the Chinese Communist Party the ability to manipulate our social discourse.
The bill would need to pass the full House and the Democratic-controlled Senate, where its fate is less likely. Some Democratic members say the bill was created too hastily. TikTok is calling the bill little more than political theater, adding it hopes, quote, Congress will explore solutions that won't have the effect of censoring the voices of millions of Americans.
TikTok CEO will be on Capitol Hill again later this month for a hearing with lawmakers. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Up next, how an ice cream parlor in Germany is adding a side of extra protein to one of its new flavors. If you ever wanted to try a cricket-flavored ice cream, head to Germany. Thomas Michelano's ice cream store in Rutenberg boasts the cricket ice cream. The new EU law now allows the use of insects in food, and that led Michelano to create his latest flavor. The store owner has a history of creating flavors that are not the preferred ice cream types. In the past, he's offered liver sausage and gorgonzola ice cream, and even gold-plated ice cream for less than $5 a scoop. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. The Kansas Office of Broadband Development hosts an event in Pittsburgh to get the public's thoughts on their connection. Plus, a special guest visits kids at the Freeman Health System Learning Center. Kansas Broadband is on the road getting feedback about Wi-Fi in rural areas. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more from Pittsburgh.
Getting reliable and affordable Wi-Fi in rural areas is changing. The Kansas Office of Broadband Development is actively trying to close the digital gap in rural areas.
One thing we've heard over and over again is that some people are saddled with data caps that force them to ration their broadband across their household to make it last for the entire month. We've heard that There is a lot of unreliable service out there. They may have some broadband, but it goes out with the weather.
The state broadband department is developing a strategic plan to target rural areas. The department is traveling across the state to receive direct feedback.
We're going to take all the insights we hear from this listening tour and by summer put together our 5-year digital equity and broadband access strategic plan that we will submit to the federal government for review. Upon approval of that plan, the state of Kansas will be awarded hundreds of millions of dollars that we can then give out in competitive grants to communities that need broadband.
Kansas Governor Laura Kelly is trying to make Kansas one of the top states with accessible broadband by 2030. Hearing feedback from Kansas in rural areas will help tailor the state's strategy plan.
And it's because we need to be really thoughtful about how we spend these funds. This is a historic level of funding, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to shore up the digital divide in Kansas, and we need to make sure we're hitting the populations and the groups that are historically disconnected and have been left behind in this digital divide.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Kansas Office of Broadband Development is also planning to improve broadband infrastructure in southeast Kansas. Joplin's Art Walk is back. Today was the first Art Walk event of the season. If you're not familiar, Art Walk is where downtown Joplin businesses come together and showcase art from local artists, giving people a chance to check it out. One artist says her family helped her create.
He added the bar onto the frame, and then my mother is also very gifted at sewing and quilting, so it was very easy for her to make the little shower curtain out of fabric. And it's one of my favorite pieces because it's something that we did together as a family.
You can find more of Rachel's work on Facebook at Rachel's Shoebox. Art Walk takes place on the first Thursday of every month. Freeman Health System introduced a very special guest to kids at the Freeman Learning Center. The Cat in the Hat himself paid a visit for the Freeman and Cat in the Hat reading event. Along with the cat, Paula Baker, Steve Grady, and Dr. Adam Farholtz read their favorite Dr. Seuss's classics to a room full of Freeman Learning Center students. Kids also had the chance to pose for pictures with Cat in the Hat and enjoy snacks as well as drinks.
Our special guests were the 3- and 4-year-olds from the Freeman Learning Center, and then Dr. Seuss actually made an appearance this morning, as well as Thing 1 and Thing 2. So they were really excited to meet the children.
The event is organized by Freeman Health System and Ozarks Public Television to help promote reading. Nearly a month after a toxic train derailment in Ohio, Norfolk Southern CEO will soon have to face questions from lawmakers. Fox News correspondent Garrett Tenney has more.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine is now calling on President Biden to visit the site of that toxic train derailment in East Palestine. The request comes one day after the governor and EPA officials returned to view the cleanup efforts. DeWine says he's spoken with the agency about a recent study that found elevated levels of chemicals in the air.
What they tell us is that for the short term, this is no problem, should not be a problem. If that persists for year after year and people continue to breathe that, yes, it would in fact be a problem.
As the cleanup continues, neighboring states are expressing concerns about receiving toxic waste from the derailment. Federal and state officials say they're working to improve inspections on routes that carry high hazard trains.
FRA is identifying and prioritizing the routes that carry hazardous materials to assess rail infrastructure that detects potential safety concerns and prevents potential derailments.
Next week, Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw will testify about the derailment before a Senate committee in Washington. He's also been subpoenaed to appear before the Pennsylvania State Senate. Some East Palestine residents say they're hoping to get answers about the long-term effects of this toxic spill.
I feel like there's a lot of truth that is not being told. I know that this is affecting my children's bodies. I know that it is not safe in East Palestine for my children.
Ohio's governor says eventually there will be a fund set up by the railway to address any long-term health effects. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
A bit later, concerns about the next generation of technology.
At least 2 tech giants have unveiled AI-powered search engines, and more companies could be joining in, leading to widespread fears of fake news. I'm Eben Brown in Miami. I'll have that story straight ahead.
Well, it has been a wet day across the 4 states with lots of rainfall, even some hail earlier this afternoon down in Miami, Oklahoma, as well as here in southeastern Kansas. And it's still raining out there at Seneca, Missouri and Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. A lot of wet pavement down there is across the entire 4-state area. The lighter amounts have been up towards the north and west. We made it up to 53 degrees today after starting out at 38, which was pretty close to the normals of 55 and 33 degrees. Radar right now showing lots of rain still on the radar in southwestern Missouri, down into northeastern Oklahoma, including northwestern Arkansas. Maybe a little bit of a break right now for McDonald and Benton counties, but that's short-lived because look at this large shield of rain that's still yet to come that's now over eastern Oklahoma. That's advancing to the north and east. So folks, it is going to be raining for quite a few more hours, especially down towards our south. Temperatures right now are generally in the 30s, lower 40s up to the north with an easterly wind across the area. And when you factor in the wind, it feels like it's in the 30s. So it's a raw night out there with rain and cool to cold temperatures. And we're looking at that continuing through the overnight hours. Dew points are in the 30s and 40s, especially down towards the south, so the atmosphere is pretty much saturated. Right now in Joplin, it's 43 degrees. It feels like 38 though. Dew point is 41, so we have a high humidity and the rain is coming down. And looking at Pittsburgh, you can see the east wind there, north-northeast at 10, making it feel like 35, but it's 41 degrees. And the dew point is 41, so that means we have 100% on our humidity. Severe weather tonight, fortunately, is going to be down to the south. In northeastern Texas, where they've had severe weather, many tornadoes down there. Here in our area, maybe a marginal risk of severe weather with an isolated storm or two, but the main threat is going to be the heavy rainfall. And also maybe a slight chance of some hail. No tornado threat really, or high winds in our area, and that's good news. Rain chances are going to be high tonight and then dropping off as we go through the middle part of tomorrow, and maybe some of that's going to mix over with some snow, especially up towards the north where temperatures are going to be in the 30s by tomorrow morning. And by 7 o'clock, you can see the winds are going to be out of the north and west with temperatures in the 30s and the rain starting to come to an end. And you can see that mixture across the area. Then as we go through the middle part of the day into the afternoon, we'll see northerly winds and temperatures in the 40s and 50s with the storm system moving away from us. Then as we go into Saturday morning, temperatures are going to be in the 30s across the area with southerly winds. But Saturday afternoon looks pretty nice. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s with south winds. And then on Sunday morning, we'll see temperatures in the 30s and 40s with southerly winds. Rainfall amounts on top of what we've already had, maybe another inch or two down to the south, lesser amounts up towards the north and west as you go up into southeastern Kansas. Over the next 7 days, here's your forecast. Alert date for tonight and tomorrow with that chance of mixture in the morning, but a nicer, warmer weekend, and then more rain chances as we begin the early part of next week. And next week looks to be a little bit on the cool side, below normal with temperatures in the 40s and lows in the 20s.
These last 2 weeks have totally encompassed as to what 4-state weather is.
Absolutely.
The other day it was 72, now it's cold and raining.
Right.
We got 71 on Monday.
That's right, a textbook example.
We chose to live here. All right, thank you, Sam. Coming up in sports, a semifinal night at the 3A Sub-State Tournament in Girard. Plus, the Missouri Southern women prepare to face Pitt State in the MIAA Tournament quarterfinals. Jacob Leonard has that and more after the break.
The Missouri Southern men's basketball team hits the floor today in the quarterfinals of the MIAA tournament. And the Lions opened the tournament yesterday by beating Northeastern State 70-60 in the first round. And tonight, Southern faces Central Oklahoma in the quarterfinals. And the Lions swept the Broncos in the regular season. Tonight, though, it's UCO winning 76-60. Avery Taggart, big game for the Lions, finishes with 26 points. The Lions finished the season with a 17-13 overall record. In the women's bracket, we have a rivalry game tomorrow night in the quarterfinals in Kansas City. Missouri Southern faces Pittsburgh State, with the winner moving on to the tournament semifinals. And the Lions hit the road to Kansas City earlier this afternoon. They're the 5 seed in the bracket. The Gorillas are the 4 seed. And Missouri Southern dropped both regular season meetings with Pitt State, falling by 8 in Joplin and by 10 in Pittsburgh. So they're motivated to get this one on Friday when it really counts.
Yeah, we've lost 2 during the regular season, and that's motivation. It should be motivation itself. But this one here is an important one. When you get into the postseason, like I mentioned earlier, you win, you keep advancing, you keep playing. You lose, you go home. So, it'd be nice to be able to get this win against Pitt in the conference tournament and hopefully continue to win a couple more games.
With 2 wins under your belt is got to, give Pitt a lot of confidence. So it definitely puts a bit of a chip on our shoulder, which I think is going to motivate our team, to kind of get in there and play hard.
Well, tonight is semifinal night at the girls 3A sub-state tournament in Girard. Now, the Cherryville Chargers are the number 1 seed in the bracket and cruised by Baxter Springs in the first round on Monday. Cherryville faces another CNC team tonight in the semifinals, hitting the floor against Galena. The Chargers off to a fast start. Kelsey Lance drives, gets it to go. She scores 15 tonight. And moments later, Lance to Cadence Foreman in the corner. 3 is good. Cherryville scores the first 5 of the game. On the other end, Galena hangs around. Mia Sarwinski pulls up and buries the 3. 32 points tonight for Sarwinski. Bulldogs within 1, but Cherryville would close this one out. Jaylee Reister open for the jumper. She leads the Chargers with 16. Cherryville beats Galena 61-50 to move on to the sub-state championship. Now they're going to play the winner of this one. Tournament host Girard faces CNC rival Frontenac in the semifinals tonight. Girard comes out firing. Hayden Buckley open for 3 from the top of the key. Then Riley Brooks, another long ball for the Trojans. They jump out to a 6-0 lead. Here comes Frontenac. Hattie Pyle, straightaway 3 goes down. The Raiders back within 1 going to the second. Now in the second quarter, Pyle ahead to Kinley Lakey for the easy 2. Frontenac comes back to lead by 2 at halftime. In the third, more from Hattie Pyle, steals the cross-court pass, heads the other way, eventually finishes it off. Then going back to Kinley Lakey, she's good for 3 from the corner. Frontenac pulls away from Girard to win it 55-41. The Raiders will face Cherryville for the sub-state title on Saturday. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Dozens of tech giants are rushing into the artificial intelligence space with mixed results, prompting new fears of fake news spreading at an unprecedented rate. Fox's Eben Brown has more.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, is all the rage these days in the tech world. Microsoft recently added the AI ChatGPT to its Bing search engine. Google, too, has an AI-powered chatbot, but what stops AI from spewing misinformation or fake news? Its encyclopedic patter may be relatable, but is it reliable?
Who's training them? What's the source of the data? And until we know those things, it's going to be very hard for somebody, I think, to rely on them.
Some tech CEOs are now floating the idea of a rating system like we have for the movies to evaluate articles and information delivered by AI search engines, hoping it will counterbalance the expected uptick in unregulated content as programs like ChatGPT become more popular.
Why don't we know all the content that's coming? Why can't we put a rating system on that? Without it, you're just exaggerating an already existing serious condition.
And that's where Seeker comes in. It's a new search engine that uses AI to determine the reliability and political lean of news stories, helping users filter out what's valuable and what might be harmful.
What we're trying to do here is give people who are consuming massive volumes of news every day a way to look at what is quality and what isn't.
And in addition to all that new software, a team from Johns Hopkins University is working on more AI technology using human brain cells. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Meta announces a 4-year roadmap for the future of its technology. The announcement on Tuesday included new virtual reality headsets. The company is also planning augmented reality glasses and wrist devices to control them by 2025. A neural interface band will let users control the glasses with hand movements on what they call an imaginary D-pad. Features will include scanning QR codes, viewing messages, and translating other languages in real time. Coming up, how a man from Missouri was given a secret gift from his daughter that will last him a lifetime. Thank the heavens and the stars above because this Missouri dad has a new lease on life. Thanks to his daughter. She gave him her kidney, but she kept it a secret throughout the process because she knew that he wouldn't allow her to do it. Gabriella Vidal has the story.
I was upset, but I'm so grateful. It's just hard to describe.
Hard to describe, but the emotion on John Evanowski's face says everything.
I can't stop crying.
He goes, I knew you were up to something, and I said, well, I'm always up to something.
That something began brewing in Delaney Evanowski's mind more than a year ago, after doctors told her father he had an immunoglobulin A deficiency, causing an overactive immune system to attack his kidneys.
From there, it's just been dialysis every couple days since then. So for over a year, he's been hooked up to a machine for 3, 4, 5 hours a day. So then my first thought was, I was like, why can't he just have my kidney right now?
John was against it.
I didn't want her kidney. I'm like, you're too young. You got a long time to be here.
But Delaney had other ideas.
I don't even remember how I got his coordinator's phone number, and I reached out to her and I was like, hey, how can I do this? What can we start? And then as soon as he was good enough basically for the transplant, they started running me through a bunch of tests.
8 months of secrecy.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
All leading to this moment on February 16th.
I didn't find out until the day of surgery. After we were post-op, she opened the door and came through, and I was just like, oh my Lord.
A moment tugging millions of heartstrings after Delaney posted the video on TikTok, asking each of her followers to donate $1 for her family's medical costs.
And I thought, why not reach out to social media? And I got a way bigger response than I ever was expecting to.
Are you now grateful that you did it? Or?
Oh, I'm so grateful. Not to be hooked up to the machine anymore and be able to do what I need to do or I want to do, it's a big relief.
This father not only relieved, but taking a new lease on life thanks to his daughter.
It is one of the greatest gifts you can ever give.
Man, the things that you would do for family. And that's our time for tonight, and thank you all so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with a video of a Nayala calf born at Brookfield Zoo. Be safe, and we'll do this all again tomorrow. See you then.